Self-prioritization is a step in healing, not the destination. A video essay by the White Rabbit. Not all values that people live according to are equal. When I say equal, I'm not talking about the lovability or worth of the person who deems a certain value important. I am talking about the effectiveness of their values within society. How you affect both others and yourself can be constructive or destructive. The worth and validity of a value is dependent upon how constructive or destructive its effectiveness is. The so-called superior value, which in the optimal case is the idealized one, is the one that benefits the self and others simultaneously. Values that build a healthy society are superior to the ones that destruct its well-being, or enable it to stay unhealthy. In this essay, I'm going to uncover a pitfall that is very common in today's world when it comes to people's values. These days, there is a popular notion, a notion that promotes selfishness, self-centeredness, egoism, and even self-obsession. Our society is slowly being held to higher standards. We live in a society that is being healed of its poison as we speak. A poison that blighted our lives for centuries is what I'd call obligation-based selflessness. People taught their kids for generations that their self matters less than the collective, that you need to sacrifice your happiness for the sake of others, and that's what makes you a good person. When expectations are held to people without further explanation and exposure to real-life consequences, even the things that are objectively virtues of high regard get reduced down to heartless obligation. Furthermore, they get reduced to mere manipulation techniques. The most common type of selfless person you find today is a strategically masked, selfish person. They learn that when they give to others and do big gestures, they get what they want, such as approval, belonging, or even affection. They act selfish disguised as selflessness, but it hurts them because it feels exhausting. It is toxic, and their manipulative behavior breeds more toxicity from others. Instead of mutually beneficial, win-win kind of relationships, they go for takers who have no intention of cooperation, because they can only make their bargain of earning love through gestures, instead of it naturally forming through connection, from people who don't want to give love willingly. People are tired of this, and as a result came the popularization of self-obsessed living. You can find endless amount of self-help content on the internet that tells you to be selfish. And the thing is, people need to hear it. People pleasers need to be shaken awake and told to stop prioritizing others above themselves. It's because when selflessness comes from impure intention, it is destructive, both towards yourself and others. You are nice, but only because you want something in return. Many people need to wake up and realize that them putting others into social debt they didn't consent to isn't okay. But then again, these self-help videos that promote selfishness usually aren't concerned with how moral you are, but instead with what you get. But the truth is, selfishness might be improvement for some, but it is not the ultimate solution. Someone's improvement is another's sin, and that's okay. Again, I'm not making an argument about people's worth or lovability. What I want to call your attention to is the poison that it breeds when you stop at a certain step of healing and assume it's the destination. Self-prioritization is healing for many people right now, but the saturation of this notion is getting people stuck at an objectively still unhealthy state. Being self-concerned is better than being selfless for manipulative reasons, but selfishness is objectively still bad. Sometimes what liberated and helped you once, at one point becomes the poison you're trying to get rid of. True selflessness exists, though on the level of human embodiment, it is extremely rare. It is rare precisely because people get stuck at selfishness, thinking it's the destination of their healing. If you come from the state of manipulative selflessness, aka people-pleasing, you need to prioritize yourself for a while. Having self-respect, self-worth, self-esteem, self-trust, self-reliability, and self-love are basic pillars of a stable and healthy human being. You need to develop these things if you haven't done so yet. But do think further, though. Why is it needed to have basic health relative to myself? Is self-prioritization good for the sake of self-prioritization? Or is it just a crucial element for a bigger purpose? The answer is this: nothing is healthy if it is done for the sake of doing it. Even when you play, you don't play so for the sake of playing. You do so for the sake of enjoyment. Having basic self-respect is objectively not a revelation. To people pleasers, it might feel radical, but it is a basic aspect of a healthy person. There is no need to blow it out of proportion. If you swing the other way and become self-obsessed, you do so because you still don't get the point. To be a developed human being, you need to have regard and consideration for yourself. In objective terms, that is normal, not rebellious. If you become overly selfish, it is a strategic behavior to try to prove something you still don't believe is allowed. You may have shame or attachment to certain people hold you clinging to self-destruction and self-sabotage. But if you do so, end up swinging the other way and becoming self-obsessed, what you are doing is comparable to a mouse chasing its tail. You are trying to prove something that doesn't need to be proved. You do not need to go on a side quest of proving that you can love yourself. It is true regardless of you proving it. Something evident needs no proof. With that being said, what happens when we develop these crucial pillars of basic health relative to ourselves? When considering yourself becomes the norm, you save lots of energy. Energy that used to go into either manipulating others or rebelliously proving your right to consider yourself. Self-love is efficient, cost-effective, and sustainable, while both manipulative selflessness and selfishness are expensive and wasteful of energy. Basic health saves energy for things beyond survival. And what a person does beyond survival, if they truly have a good relationship with themselves, is precisely the state of true selflessness. When considering yourself as normal and habitual, you ironically have much more energy and willingness to care for others. When you love yourself, not out of rebellion, but out of reasonability and healthy thinking, sacrifices, grand and small gestures, kindness and charity become dignified. Self-love and being a fully developed person unlocks the ability of dignified selflessness, aka true selflessness. When caring about yourself is normal, you actually start to prioritize others, because you no longer have development to do. When it comes to your relationship with yourself, this is the destination. This is what people of the past wanted all along, but with inappropriate ways of teaching, achieved the opposite. When selflessness is an obligation and a tool to gain belonging, it is extrinsically motivated, manipulative, and dirty. The counter-movement is selfishness, the act of rebelling against manipulative selflessness, which if goes out of control can become just as toxic. At which point it is not better, because when it's a rat race to prove something that's already true, it breeds the same mentality, believing you don't have the right to consider yourself. The real destination is intrinsically motivated selflessness. So what should you do knowing all that? If you are a people pleaser, find a way to validate and justify your need to consider yourself in your everyday life, because it is necessary for your growth. Claim the right you already have, the right to consider yourself, but do not fall into the pitfall of swinging the other way or blowing it out of proportion. And do not fall into the pitfall of thinking it's the destination. When you finally practice self-regard for the first time, you are healing, not healed. Know the difference. A healed person is selfless from pure intention. They are selfless not out of obligation, but out of choice. People's actions and behavior depend on their personal values, even when they are unconscious of what they value. The value of self-serving, manipulative selflessness is bad, and while the value of unapologetic self-serving is a little bit better, it is still not good. The best value is pure selflessness, which is something that cannot be faked or performed. It can only come from healthy and developed people. So no, not all values are equal, and selfishness is objectively not the best thing you can do for yourself. If you value selflessness as manipulation, you are morally wrong. If you value rebellious selfishness, you are also morally wrong. Only if you value being constructive both towards yourself and others are you truly healthy and righteous. And if you happen to be someone that doesn't have ongoing wars with yourself, do not fall into the trap of people who promote selfishness. Their content is not for you. If you say to someone who's a people pleaser, just be selfish, you are elevating them. But if you say that to a truly selfless person, you are trying to downgrade them. If you are okay with yourself, you absolutely shouldn't withhold the care you could give others. Being a giver is only a shame if it is a form of manipulation. If your conscience feels heavy when seeing these become self-obsessed videos, this is me telling you to not downgrade yourself. You are ready for bigger and better things. Do not let others tell you to dim your light and withhold your gift. If you want to be kind and selfless from pure intention, do not let them tell you it's bad for you. They are not talking to you. They are talking to less developed people. It is your responsibility to shine your light. And as much as it is a sin to mask impurity as goodness, it is just as much of a sin to withhold your love from the world. The superior value is true selflessness, and it is also the healed state. Thank you for watching.